So welcome back everyone. So in the last video we solved array prototype last, and in this video we are going to solve group by. So let's dive in. Okay, so we have to write a code that enhances all arrays such that you can call the array.groupBy function method on an array and it will return a grouped version of that array. Okay, a grouped array is an array object where each key is the output of function array at I, and each value is an array containing all the items in the original array which generated that key. The provided callback function will accept an item in the array and returns a string. The order of each value list should be order items appear in the array. An order of the key is acceptable. Please solve it without low-group by function. So let's see an example. So we are given an array, okay, and we are also given a function. So this is that function. This is a group by function. This function will be passed to this group by function. So we have to group all the elements of that array based on this function. So this function will return id. So all those elements which will return the same id will be grouped together, okay, this way. So let me write the solution. So first of all, in the last video and in one of the previous video, I have explained what is prototype. Okay, so let me explain you once again. So every class object has a prototype, and when we create an object of that class, the object will inherit all the methods or properties that is defined inside the prototype. So here also what we are doing is we are inserting one more property, that is group by. This function accepts another function, and based on what this function will return, so this function will return something. For example, on this array, when this groupBy function is called, it will return item.id, and based on that key we'll group all those values which will return the same key. Okay, so inside this function, this is equal to actual array on which this function is called. So when someone will call, so for example this is an array, and on this array this groupBy is called. So this means, so this inside this function is equal to what? This array object. Okay, array object. So now what we have to do is we have to create an object. So we can say key values, or we can say grouped data, and that's this. Now for each value inside this, so let's say const value of this. So for each value inside this array, first if grouped data, okay, first we'll get the key. Okay, so constant key which will be returned by this function on this value, and if this group data has that key, or let's say if the group data does not has that key, then what we'll do is we'll initialize this key with an empty array. Okay, and we'll push this value inside that, and at last we'll return the grouped data. So let's see the result of this. So you see all the three test case has been passed, and now we'll try to submit this, and our solution got accepted. So what we did is we created an empty group data object, then traversed over all the values inside this array, and then we got the key using this function. So this function will return, we don't know what it will return, but it will return something, so that key. And based on that key, if whatever value return the same key, which means we have to group all those values. So if this key value is not initialized in this group data, we will initialize this with empty array, and then on that key, since this value has returned this key, we will push this value against that key. So here it is. So for example, if the key returned is 1, so these are the objects that will return the same key. Okay, and finally we have returned the group data.